welcome to another video by Are You Arty Kids, and we're going to take something from the Surrealist movement in this video, which is the whole concept of sort of melting or transformation as such, really. So the sort of thing you would see in the Salvador Dali painting, The Persistence of Memory, where you've got those melting clocks. So we're just going to work on a few objects, just some basic line drawings, just to get you a feel of dripping and pooling if you were to try and do that with those objects. So the first one we're going to do is just a bit of a cube, or part of a bit of an ice cube really. So I'm working with quite a soft pencil just to show up on the video. So different ways to draw cube objects. So one way is just drawing your cube and then drawing your overlap cube across the centres like that, and then joining them up, parallel lines. Probably one of the simplest ways to do it. With an ice cube, obviously, I'm just going to press a little bit harder now, so not perfect edges, so I'm just going to take those over there like that, and then I'm going to put myself a bit of a horizon line behind, so this cube looks like it's sat somewhere. And then the thing with the bottom is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these lines, and I'm going to take these lines, and I'm just going to keep them sort of quite flat, and I'm going to have a sort of basic pool, but then I am going to draw back in very lightly that shape. Just rub out the internal lines now. And just pick that up. So as I say, just take the edges off the top. Probably come down on the corners as well. That would probably pull down a little bit. Just put a little bit of shading in the background. Like that. Pull all the corners. Just uneven that surface a little bit. And then just get this pooling. And basically what we're looking at is trying to get that direction there of where the base of the object just sort of curves into whatever surface it's actually going on. The other way I'm going to be doing that is maybe do something which is dripping. So same thing again, I'm just going to do a basic cube. Join those up, I won't see the middle one, and then everything is going to use gravity and then pull down. So I'll take this line here, and I'm going to I want to keep it really smooth, and if these are like droplets, like this, and then just take those edges off, take these internal lines out. What we might do is take that line and drip that down as well on that corner, like this. And then obviously you'd go ahead and put all your shading in. But basically, as long as these are really smooth and you've got your line coming down, you get that feeling of gravity pulling everything down. So that's one particular thing you can sort of work on, and obviously try and get some realism into that with your shading, a little bit more light and dark into the ice cube. Another one would be a candle. So if you just draw a basic sort of ellipse or ellipses, get your sort of tube, your cylinder. Remember to get this line and that line parallel if you can. If you watch my other video on drawing cakes, we do some work on that, and then you could give it a little flame if you want, give it a sense of being somewhere on a table. Most candles, obviously, when they melt anyway, would drip down here. So you can sort of, as long as you're getting this sense of doing this sort of stuff like that. So what we can do is we can put a little bit of thickness on it, as if the candle is pooling, and then just go a little bit beyond your outer line to give it that thickness there. And then you can deform the top maybe that will have deformed a little bit. Put your little flame in there. could even have some runs down the side as if that's coming down. And then what you could do is you might want to pull the bottom, so same sort of thing again, just do your almost like your horizon line. So what you could do is take that line and pull that in, and then rub that line out just to give that illusion of that sort of just going to put some very, very rough shading in. Into this pool, change my direction this way on the shading using that sort of hatching technique, or if I had more time maybe I could do some cross hatching on there just to give it a little bit more sense of 3D. So that pool is very much following the sense of the ellipse down there as well. Okay, so that's that one, sort of pooling at the bottom. If we did something like a clock face, so just a very basic clock face like this, so with a 1, 3, 6, 9, that sort of thing like that. If we had these numbers, so if we brought the clock face and used gravity with it, so let's just take sort of about that point there and just imagine that everything would pull down. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the edge of the clock and we're going to create this sort of drippy effect there. That would then keep the top of that clock there. And if I had sort of clock hands, so say if I had like clock hands like this, what I might do then, and also the number like this, I'm going to get the numbers to drip as well. So if I just show you, so say if that was like a number 3, what would happen if sort of gravity worked with it? It might sort of distort that top, and these might go really long. If you were doing a number 6, what would happen with gravity pulled it down? It might really elongate that bottom part of the 6 there. So this bottom line of the clock would probably disappear now, because the new drip line is the new outline of the clock. And what I'll probably do is where the position of the 6 was, I might just drip that in. I might elongate that 1, same with the 9, I might sort of pull that down. The 3, I might pull that down as well. So my 2, which would be about there, so I might pull that down. The 4, 5, so maybe that would go in there, all like that. And even the clock hands, I could melt them down, so they might fall down as well. So everything will sort of pull against it. That's sort of one idea of sort of pulling that down. Other one we could look at is maybe lettering. So if we were doing block lettering, so if we were doing, I don't know, just a block L or something like that, maybe this would, using that gravity as our guide again, would maybe pull and pull down. It might be that this distorts as well, and then just the corner pulls off. So it might be that just pulls down that way. Another way you could even pull these letters, I suppose, would be to do, let's say if that was sat on there, so you could have that distorting down there and then have that sort of pooling and distorting in that point there, and just sort of pooling into something like that. So that's one little way we could actually pool a little bit more. What else could we do? We could do one more maybe using that sort of technique. We could do maybe an ice cream, which is probably what you would expect to run anyway. So if we did just a traditional sort of one cone, so I put myself some guides in there just to get myself a sort of cone shape, get myself like a one scoop or something like that. And then what I might do is I just distort this because they're never perfect. And then what I could do is I could, so if that's the rim of the ice cream cone, you could sort of pull that there, take that down, never to a point, and then I could do that, find me rubber, whatever I've done with it, there we go, and then I could just put some basic, very basic hatching, really quick, just to get some texture onto that, just to get that feeling of sort of pooling down. Last thing really is probably just to go in a bit closer, I suppose, and just getting that sort of general sort of pool. So just do some big ones. I suppose this thing is going to be, if you imagine it, the consistency of maybe like treacle or honey, which is quite thick. We need to make this line look not flat and 2D, but a little bit more three-dimensional. So we need to create that illusion of light and dark. So what we could do is whatever it's sat on, then you would maybe use your pencil just to create a little bit of shadow underneath the pool, all the way around. Really dark, obviously, where the shadow is. I'm just going to do one section here and try and get that really smooth. Sort of light to dark finish. Just so that sort of blends, and all of a sudden that surface pulls away from the paper. And then what we might try and do is just really gently try and take this edge away, because remember, things in real life don't have edges. It's not like those old-fashioned ready brick adverts you used to see on the CV where people used to walk around with a green, was it a green glow, I think? So you don't have an outline around objects in real life, nothing is an outline. We just see the edge as a sort of light and dark contrast between one surface and another. So we need to get away from drawing things with outlines. You can start with an outline, but then you need to sort of use tone to try and create that illusion of something that has a little bit of form to it. So you maybe start just building it up with tone. Trying to get that really smooth light to dark. So remember, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get from that. This is a 4B pencil, because I want that nice rich shadow, but you're trying to get that smooth light to dark sort of effect really. And then you might even, you know, just work into it to get it really soft. Even use your rubber. Why does my rubber keep disappearing? That's the question. Is it the same thing as where odd socks go in the wash? Where do they all end up? Is it the same place that rubbers end up when you can't find them? And you can just put little highlights back in using your rubber, because your rubber's a great drawing tool. It's not just for, you know, rubbing out mistakes. Yeah, it's a great drawing tool to pick out highlights and things like that. So that just gives that illusion of a little bit more 3D on your drip or pour. And that's it. That concludes another video on just taking one of the concepts from Surrealism, which is that whole melting transformation sort of element that they use, and putting that into some real life objects. Okay, thanks for watching.